Lisa Morgan walked into the registration area of Nexus Prime Station with her small bag over her shoulder. The place was huge and filled with creatures from different worlds. Some had forearms, some had scales, and others looked like they were made of crystal. She felt small and out of place in her worn jacket and simple clothes. The annual Galactic Games were starting, and she was here for one reason only: to win enough money to save her brother Danny from the dangerous people he owed. She stood in line at the registration desk for the dart tournament. The aliens around her were tall, strong, and looked like they had been training for years. When it was her turn, the tournament coordinator looked down at her. His name was Korth, and he was from a species called Vrexian. He was at least 8 feet tall with blue skin and 4 eyes. Korth looked at her registration form and laughed. It was not a kind laugh. He said the entry fee was 500 credits and that she would not get it back once she paid. He asked if she really understood what kind of competition this was. Lisa nodded and pushed her credit chip across the desk. She had saved every bit of money she had for this moment. Around the registration area, other competitors started noticing her. A group of Kalrathi warriors pointed at her and spoke in their language. One of them, a huge creature with 4 arms and red skin named Vrok, said loud enough for everyone to hear that the human was wasting her money. He said she would be gone in the first round and that it would be funny to watch. The crystalline beings called Shardborn looked at her with what seemed like pity. They were known across the galaxy for their perfect mathematical minds and precise movements. One of them whispered to another that humans were still too new to the galactic community to understand real competition. Lisa took her registration number and walked away without saying anything. She had learned a long time ago that words meant nothing when you could show people with actions. She headed to the practice area where dozens of dartboards were set up. The boards were bigger than Earth boards, and the darts felt strange in her hand when she picked one up. She stood at the line and threw her first practice dart. It missed the board completely and hit the wall behind it. The sound of laughter filled the practice area. Aliens of all kinds stopped what they were doing to watch the human who could not even hit the board. Vrock and his Kalrathi friends laughed the loudest. Lisa picked up another dart and tried again. This one hit the board but nowhere near where she wanted it to go. More laughter. She could feel her face getting hot, but she kept her expression calm. She had 3 days before the tournament started. 3 days to figure out these darts, this gravity, and this board. A small alien with green skin approached her and asked in broken English if she had ever thrown darts before. Lisa said yes many times. The alien looked confused and asked if Earth darts were very different. Lisa said they were different enough. The alien shook his head and walked away. Lisa spent the next hour throwing and missing. Each throw taught her something new about how the darts moved in this station's gravity. Nexus Prime had lower gravity than Earth, which meant the darts flew differently. They were also lighter than Earth darts, designed so that different species with different strength levels could all use them. By the end of the first day, she could hit the board every time, but her accuracy was terrible. She slept for 4 hours in a cheap room she had rented, then went back to practice. The station never really slept. There were always competitors practicing, always crowds watching, always noise. On the second day, a human merchant named Carl Bennett stopped to watch her practice. He was older, maybe 50, with gray in his hair and kind eyes. He told her he had heard about her brother's situation through the human network on the station. He said everyone knew she was trying to win money to pay off Danny's debt. Carl asked if she really thought she could win against these aliens who had been training their whole lives. Lisa threw a dart and hit the outer ring of the bullseye. She said she did not know if she could win, but she had to try. Carl watched her throw a few more times, then asked what her odds were in the betting pools. Lisa said she heard they were 5,000 to 1 against her. Carl smiled and said that was a good number for a bet. Lisa asked if he was really going to bet on her. Carl said he had a good feeling about her, and besides, humans needed to stick together out here in the galaxy. He left to place his bet, and Lisa went back to practicing. By the 3rd day, something had changed. The darts felt right in her hand now. She understood how they moved, how the gravity affected them, how much force she needed. She started hitting the targets she aimed for. Not every time, but enough times that she felt hope growing in her chest. The math started making sense too. Lisa had always been good with numbers and patterns. Back on Earth, she worked analyzing probability for gambling oversight. She saw the dartboard as a series of calculations now. Angle, force, spin, gravity, distance, all variables she could control. She threw 20 darts in a row and hit the triple 20 times. An alien walking past stopped and watched. Then another. Soon a small crowd had gathered. They were not laughing anymore. They were watching with curiosity. Vrock walked past with his Kalrathi friends. He glanced at her board and saw the tight grouping of darts. His laughter stopped. He said something to his friends in their language and kept walking. But Lisa noticed he looked back once before disappearing around the corner. That night, Lisa allowed herself to think about Danny, her little brother who had always gotten into trouble, who had gone to the frontier colonies looking for adventure and found debt instead. The people he owed were not the kind who accepted payment plans or excuses. They wanted their money and they wanted it now. The tournament started tomorrow. Lisa lay in her small room and thought about her grandfather's pub in Boston, where she had learned to throw darts as a child. Thousands of hours in that back room, throwing at an old board while her grandfather served drinks and told stories. She had never imagined those hours would matter. She had never imagined they would be the thing that could save her brother's life. She closed her eyes and pictured the board. Triple 20, triple 19, bullseye, double top. She threw each dart in her mind, seeing the perfect trajectory, feeling the perfect release. Tomorrow she would show them all that being ordinary did not mean being weak. The tournament arena was massive, much bigger than Lisa had expected. Thousands of seats filled with beings from across the galaxy, all here to watch the competition. Giant screens hung from the ceiling showing different matches happening at the same time. The noise was overwhelming, a mix of languages and sounds she could not even begin to understand. Lisa stood in the waiting area with the other competitors. Her number was 47, and she would be playing on board 12 for her first match. She wore the same simple clothes she had worn since arriving, while other competitors had fancy uniforms and team sponsors. Some had coaches with them, analyzing strategies on tablets. She had nothing but herself and the 3 practice darts in her pocket. Her first opponent was named Crix, from a species called Dorvan. The Dorvan were known for being patient and methodical. Crix was about her height but much thinner, with long fingers and pale yellow skin. He nodded to her respectfully when they met at the board, which surprised her. Most of the aliens had been either mocking or ignoring her. The rules were explained by the referee, a floating robot that spoke in multiple languages at once. Each player needed to score exactly 500 points by hitting specific targets. They would play best of 5 sets, meaning the first to win 3 sets would advance. The order of targets appeared on a screen next to the board. Crix went first. He took his time with each throw, calculating and measuring before releasing. His darts landed exactly where he aimed them, steady and reliable. He finished his first set in 12 throws, which the crowd seemed to think was good based on their applause. Lisa stepped to the throwing line. Her hands were steady, steadier than she expected. All the noise from the crowd faded away until it was just her and the board. She saw the first target light up on the screen. Triple 20. She threw, and the dart hit exactly where she wanted. The crowd noise changed. It was not applause yet, just surprise. She threw again. Triple 20. Then again. Triple 20. She was not thinking anymore, just throwing. Her body remembered every practice session, every throw in her grandfather's pub, every calculation she had made over the past 3 days. She finished her first set in 9 throws, 3 fewer than Crix. The crowd got loud, really loud. People were standing up to see better. The screen showed replays of her throws. She heard the word human repeated in several languages, always with surprise in their voices. Crix won the second set, but Lisa won the third and fourth. The match was over. She had won 3 sets to 1. As she stepped away from the board, Crix came over and made a gesture with his long fingers that she guessed was a sign of respect. He said she threw with real purpose, and he admitted he had underestimated her. Lisa thanked him and walked back to the waiting area. Carl was there, jumping up and down like a kid. He grabbed her shoulders and said she had just made him a rich man. He had bet everything on her to win this match at 300 to 1 odds. Lisa smiled and told him not to spend it yet, because she still had more matches to win. Her second match was scheduled for later that afternoon. The opponent was a shardborn named Prex, one of the crystalline beings who had looked at her with pity during registration. The shardborn were supposed to be almost unbeatable at games requiring precision, because their bodies were literally structured around mathematical perfection. Prex did not speak to Lisa before the match started. Shardborn communicated mostly through light patterns, and Lisa could see colors flashing across Prex's crystalline body. She guessed it was the Shardborn version of trash talk. The match started and Prex was incredible. Every dart landed with perfect precision, each throw calculated to the smallest detail. But Lisa matched her, throw for throw. When Prex hit triple 19, Lisa hit triple 19. When Prex hit the bullseye, Lisa hit the bullseye. The crowd was going wild now. This was not supposed to happen. A human was not supposed to match a Shardborn at precision. It went against everything they understood about the galaxy's order. Lisa won the match 3-0. As she walked away, she heard the commentators on the screens talking rapidly in their languages. One of them was speaking English, saying that Lisa Morgan from Earth was the surprise of the tournament. He said no one knew who she was or where she came from, but she was playing like a champion. That night, Lisa could not sleep. She lay in her room thinking about Danny. She wondered if he was watching the tournament broadcasts. She wondered if the people he owed money to were watching too. She checked her messages and found one from an unknown sender. The message was short and threatening. It said that her brother's debt was growing every day, and that winning this tournament would not be enough. It said she should quit now before things got worse. Lisa stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it. She was not going to quit. She had come too far. The next day was the third round. By now, everyone in the station knew about her. Humans who lived and worked on Nexus Prime started showing up to watch her matches. They cheered louder than anyone else, happy to see one of their own doing well. Her opponent was a Nexian named Korktal, not to be confused with the famous Kortal who was playing on the other side of the bracket. Kortal was good, very good. The match was close, with both of them winning sets back and forth. In the final set, Lisa needed to hit a double 16 to win. She stood at the line and took a deep breath. The crowd was silent, waiting. She threw and the dart flew straight and true. It hit the double 16 perfectly. The crowd exploded with noise. She had done it again. Carl found her after the match and told her the betting odds had changed. She was now at 50-1, still an underdog, but not the joke she had been when she started. He said more and more people were starting to believe she could actually win the whole thing. Lisa asked him if he had bet again. Carl grinned and said he had bet even more money on her to reach the finals. Lisa shook her head and told him he was crazy. Carl said maybe, but it was the most fun he had had in years. That night, Lisa received another message. This one was from Danny himself. He said he had been watching every match and that he was proud of her. He said not to worry about the debt, that he would figure something out. He told her to quit the tournament and come home safe. Lisa read the message 3 times. She understood what Danny was trying to do. He was trying to protect her, trying to take the pressure off. But she knew the truth. There was no figuring this out. The only way to save him was to win. She sent back a short message that said she loved him and that she would see him soon. Then she turned off her device and went back to practicing. The quarterfinals were tomorrow, and her opponent was Vrock, the same Kalrathi warrior who had laughed at her during registration. Vrock was one of the favorites to win the tournament. He had 4 arms, which meant he could throw multiple darts at once. He had been playing this game for 30 years. He was strong, experienced, and confident. Lisa practiced until late in the night, throwing dart after dart. Other competitors had gone to sleep hours ago, but she kept going. A janitor cleaning the practice area stopped to watch her. He was a small alien with big ears and kind eyes. He asked in broken English why she practiced so much. Lisa said she had someone depending on her. The janitor nodded like he understood. He said his daughter was sick and needed medicine he could not afford. He said he understood what it meant to fight for family. Lisa thanked him and kept throwing. When she finally went back to her room, her arm was sore and her eyes were tired. But she felt ready. Tomorrow she would face Vrock, and she would show him and everyone else that humans belonged here. She fell asleep thinking about her grandfather's pub, about the smell of beer and old wood, about the sound of darts hitting the board. She dreamed of home. The quarterfinal match was scheduled for the main arena, the biggest one in the complex. Lisa walked through the corridor toward the arena and could hear the crowd already. It sounded like an ocean, waves of noise crashing against the walls. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands were steady. Vrock was already at the board when she arrived. He stood there with his 4 arms crossed, looking at her with his red eyes. His friends were in the crowd. other Kalrathi warriors who had come to support him. They were not laughing anymore, not like they had been at registration. Now they looked serious. The referee robot floated between them and explained the rules again. Same format as before, best of 5 sets, first to 3 wins. But this was the quarterfinals, which meant the pressure was higher and the targets would be harder. The crowd settled down as the match was about to begin. Vrock went first. He uncrossed his arms and picked up 4 darts, 1 in each hand. Lisa had watched videos of him playing and knew this was his signature move. He threw all 4 darts at once and they flew through the air in perfect formation. All 4 hit their targets. The crowd cheered. He continued throwing, sometimes 1 dart, sometimes 2, sometimes all 4 at once. His control was amazing and his accuracy was near perfect. He completed his first set in just 8 throws, which was faster than anyone Lisa had faced so far. The crowd loved it, cheering and stomping their feet. Lisa stepped to the line. She only had 2 hands, so she could only throw 1 dart at a time. She would have to be more accurate than Vrock to keep up with his speed. She focused on the board and threw her first dart. Triple 20. The crowd quieted a little, watching. She threw again and again, each dart finding its mark. She was not as fast as Vrock, but she made every throw count. She finished her first set in 9 throws, just 1 more than him. The crowd was split now, some cheering for Vrock and others starting to cheer for the human underdog. The second set went to Vrock. He was just too fast, finishing before Lisa could catch up. But she won the third set by being more accurate on the difficult double targets. The match was tied 1 set each, and the tension in the arena was thick enough to cut. Vrock won the 4th set, putting him ahead 2 sets to 1. Lisa needed to win the next 2 sets or she would be eliminated. She could feel the weight of that knowledge pressing down on her. 1 more loss and everything would be over. Danny would still be in debt and she would have failed. The 5th set started and Lisa forced herself to focus. She blocked out the crowd, blocked out Vrock, blocked out everything except the board. She threw with a calmness that surprised even her. Each dart felt right leaving her hand, each one flew true. She won the 5th set, tying the match at 2 sets each. Everything would be decided in the final set. The crowd was on their feet now, everyone watching. This had become the match of the tournament so far. The final set targets appeared on the screen. They were brutal, combinations of doubles and triples that required perfect accuracy. Vrock went first, and for the first time Lisa saw him hesitate. The pressure was getting to him too. He threw his 4 darts, but one of them missed the target. He made a sound that might have been a Kalrathi curse. He continued throwing, recovering from his mistake, but Lisa could see he was rattled. He finished his set in 11 throws, 1 more than he should have needed. It was still a good score, but it gave Lisa a chance. She stepped to the line with everything on the line. She needed to finish in 10 throws or fewer to win. The first few targets went smoothly, her darts hitting exactly where she aimed. The crowd counted her throws out loud. 6, 7, 8. She had 2 throws left and 2 targets remaining. The first target was a triple 17. She threw and the dart hit perfectly. 1 throw left, 1 target remaining. The final target was a double 12, the hardest finish possible. Lisa held the last dart in her hand. She could feel thousands of eyes watching her. She thought about Danny, about their childhood together, about the promise she had made to their mother before she died to always look after him. She thought about her grandfather teaching her to throw darts, telling her that the secret was not in the arm but in the mind. She threw the dart. It spun through the air and time seemed to slow down. The dart hit the board with a solid thunk, right in the center of the double 12. The arena exploded with sound. She had won. Vrock stood there for a moment, all 4 arms hanging at his sides. Then he walked over to her and did something Lisa did not expect. He bowed his head and placed all 4 hands over his heart. It was the highest sign of respect a Kalrathi could give. He said in heavily accented English that she had fought with honor, and that he had been wrong about humans. Lisa bowed her head back, not sure what else to do. Vrock's friends in the crowd were cheering too, not for their friend's victory, but for the quality of the match they had just witnessed. That was something Lisa was learning about the galactic community. They loved a good competition above all else. Carl found her in the corridor outside the arena. He was crying, actual tears running down his face. He hugged her and said she had just made him rich beyond his dreams. He had bet on her again, this time at 20-1 odds. Lisa laughed and asked if he had any money left to live on. Carl said he did not care. This was the best investment he had ever made. The semi-final match was scheduled for 2 days later. Lisa used the time to rest and practice. Her arm was sore from all the throwing, and a medical robot came to check on her. The robot said she had minor muscle strain, but nothing serious. It gave her some cream to rub on her arm and told her to take it easy. But Lisa could not take it easy. She spent hours in the practice area, working on the targets she knew would come up in the semifinals. Other competitors stopped by to watch now. Some of them offered advice, showing her techniques from their worlds. A Dwarven player showed her a breathing technique that helped with focus. A Shardborn demonstrated a way to calculate angles faster. The galactic community was starting to accept her. She was not just a joke anymore or a curiosity. She was a real competitor, and they respected that. Even aliens who had mocked her at registration now nodded to her when they passed in the corridors. Lisa received another message from the unknown sender. This one was more desperate, threatening not just Danny but her too. It said she should withdraw from the tournament immediately or face consequences. Lisa read it once and deleted it. She was not going to be scared away, not when she was this close. Her semi-final opponent was Lith, a Vorkani with compound eyes that could track multiple objects at once. Lith was the defending champion, having won the tournament for the past 3 years. She was famous across the galaxy, and her matches were always broadcast to millions of viewers. The night before the match, Lisa could not sleep again. She lay in her bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about how far she had come. A month ago, she had been sitting at her desk on Earth living a quiet life. Now she was on an alien space station, about to play in the semifinals of a galactic tournament against a 3-time champion. She thought about all the people who had helped her along the way. Carl, who had believed in her enough to bet his savings. Crix, who had shown her respect even in defeat. The janitor who had encouraged her. Her grandfather, who had taught her this game without knowing it would ever matter. She thought about Danny, too, about the last time she had seen him before he left for the colonies. He had been so excited, so full of hope for a new life. She wondered how that hope had turned into debt and danger. She wondered if winning this tournament would really be enough to save him. But those were thoughts for later. Right now, she needed to focus on Lith and the semifinals. She closed her eyes and visualized the board throwing perfect darts in her mind. Eventually, she fell asleep, dreaming of a championship that seemed both impossible and within reach. The day of the semifinal arrived with more attention than Lisa had ever experienced in her life. When she walked through the station corridors, people recognized her. Aliens of all species stopped to watch her pass, some offering words of encouragement in broken English. A group of human workers cheered when they saw her, chanting her name. The pressure was different now. Before, no one expected anything from her, so there was nothing to lose. Now people had expectations. The humans on the station were counting on her to show what their species could do. Carl had bet everything he owned on her continuing to win. Even aliens who had mocked her were now watching with genuine interest. Lisa tried to block it all out as she walked to the arena. She needed to focus on the match, not on what it meant to everyone else. But it was hard when everywhere she looked, she saw people who believed in her. The main arena was packed beyond capacity. Station security had to turn people away at the doors. The screens showed her face next to Lith's, comparing their statistics. Lith had won 73 consecutive matches. Lisa had won 6. The odds still heavily favored the champion. Lith was waiting at the board when Lisa arrived. She was tall and elegant with compound eyes that seemed to look in multiple directions at once. Her species, the Vorkani, were known for their incredible visual processing abilities. They could track dozens of objects simultaneously and calculate trajectories in microseconds. The referee robot explained that this match would be broadcast live across 7 star systems. Millions of beings would be watching. Lisa felt her stomach tighten at that information, but she forced herself to stay calm. It did not matter how many were watching. The board was the same, the darts were the same, and her arm still knew what to do. Lith spoke before the match started. Her voice was melodic, almost musical. She said she had watched all of Lisa's matches and was impressed. She said humans were more capable than most species believed. Then she said she would still win because she had been preparing for this tournament her entire life. Lisa just nodded. She had learned that talking before a match was pointless. The darts would do the talking. The match began, and immediately Lisa understood why Lith had been champion for 3 years. She was not just good, she was perfect. Every dart landed exactly where she intended. Every calculation was flawless. Her compound eyes tracked each dart from the moment it left her hand until it hit the board. Lith won the first set easily, finishing in just 7 throws. The crowd cheered for their champion, and Lisa could see the confidence on Lith's face. But Lisa had been in difficult positions before. She had been down in the match against Vrock too. The second set was closer. Lisa adjusted to Lith's speed and started matching her throw for throw. When Lith hit a triple 19, Lisa hit a triple 19. When Lith hit the bullseye, Lisa hit the bullseye. The crowd started to realize this would not be the easy victory they expected. Lisa won the second set by a single point, finishing 1 throw faster than Lith. The champion's compound eyes seemed to widen in surprise. Maybe she had not expected the human to fight back so strongly. The third set went back and forth, neither player giving an inch. They were tied going into the final target, and both needed a double 16 to finish. Lith went first and hit it perfectly. The crowd cheered, thinking the set was over. But Lisa stepped up and hit her double 16 too, sending the set to a tiebreaker. In the tiebreaker, they each threw 3 darts at the bullseye. Whoever got closest to dead center would win the set. Lith threw first, and all 3 of her darts landed within millimeters of each other, right near the center. It was an incredible display of accuracy. Lisa threw her 3 darts, and they grouped even tighter than Lith's. The crowd went silent as the measuring system calculated the distances. Lisa's average distance to the center was 0.3 millimeters closer than Lith's. She had won the set. The match was now tied 1 set each, and Lisa could see something in Lith's posture change. The champion was rattled, maybe for the first time in years. She had expected to dominate, and instead she was in a real fight. The fourth set was brutal. Both players were throwing at their absolute best, neither making any mistakes. It came down to the final throw again, and this time Lith managed to finish first. The match was tied 2 sets each. Everything would be decided in the 5th and final set. The arena was so quiet Lisa could hear her own heartbeat. Even the commentators on the screens had stopped talking, just letting the match speak for itself. Lith went first in the final set. She threw with precision, but Lisa noticed something. The champion was thinking too much now, calculating when she should have been flowing. Each throw took a little longer than before. She was feeling the pressure. Lith completed her set in 10 throws, a good score but not her best. As she stepped away from the board, Lisa could see doubt in those compound eyes. The champion knew she had not thrown well enough. Lisa stepped to the line. She needed to finish in 9 throws or fewer to win the match and advance to the finals. The first few throws went smoothly, her rhythm steady and sure. 6 throws, 7 throws, 8 throws. She had 1 throw left and 1 target remaining. The final target was a double 16, the same finish that had decided the third set. Lisa held the dart and looked at the board. She had thrown this exact shot hundreds of times in practice, thousands of times in her life. Her grandfather had always said that the double 16 was a friendly number, that it wanted to be hit. She threw the dart, and it flew true. The double 16 lit up on the board, and the arena exploded with noise. Lisa had defeated the 3-time defending champion. She was going to the finals. Lith stood there for a long moment, then walked over to Lisa. The champion's compound eyes were glistening, which Lisa guessed was the Vorkani version of tears. Lith said that Lisa had earned the victory and that she hoped Lisa would win the championship. Then she did something unexpected. She asked if they could talk privately after the match. Lisa agreed, confused but curious. After the chaos of the post-match interviews and Carl's tearful celebration, Lisa met Lith in a quiet corridor away from the crowds. Lith said she had learned about Lisa's situation, about her brother's debt and the threat she had been receiving. The champion said that Cordell, Lisa's opponent in the finals, knew about it too. She warned that Cordell was not like the other competitors Lisa had faced. He was Nexian, and the Nexians had invented this sport. They took dart throwing more seriously than any other species. Lith said Cordell would try to use the information about Danny against her, try to break her concentration and make her doubt herself. She said the Nexians believed that mental warfare was as important as physical skill. They would do anything to win. Lisa asked why Lith was telling her this. They had just competed against each other and Lith had lost. Why help her now? Lith's compound eyes seemed to focus directly on Lisa for the first time. She said that losing to Lisa had taught her something important. She had been champion for 3 years and had started to believe she could not be beaten. Lisa had shown her that anyone could be beaten, that no advantage was permanent. Lith said she respected that lesson and wanted to give Lisa a fair chance in the finals. Lisa thanked her and they parted ways. As Lisa walked back to her room, she thought about what Lith had said. Cortal would try to get in her head, try to use her fear about Danny against her. She needed to be ready for that. That night, another message came from the unknown sender. This one was different. It included a video of Danny, tied to a chair in a dark room. He looked scared but unharmed. A voice said that Lisa had 24 hours to withdraw from the tournament and transfer her current winnings to an account, or Danny would be hurt. Lisa watched the video 3 times, her hands shaking. This was real now, not just threats but actual danger. She could withdraw, give them the money and hope they would let Danny go. But she knew people like this. They would take the money and hurt Danny anyway. The only way to really save him was to win enough money to pay the debt completely. With enough left over to get him somewhere safe, she deleted the message and sent one of her own to Carl. She told him what was happening and asked him to use some of his winnings to hire security for Danny's location. Carl responded immediately, saying he would handle it and not to worry. Lisa tried to sleep but could not. She kept seeing Danny's scared face in that video. She had one more match to win, one more opponent to beat. Cortal, the Nexian master, the greatest dart player in the galaxy. And she had to beat him not just for herself or for pride, but because her brother's life depended on it. The morning of the finals arrived with a strange quiet in Lisa's mind. She had spent the whole night awake, moving past fear and worry into a place of cold determination. She had watched the video of Danny 20 more times, memorizing every detail, using it to fuel her focus rather than break it. Carl came to her room early with news. He had managed to locate Danny through his contacts in the frontier colonies. A team of human security contractors was on their way to extract him from whoever was holding him. It would take them 12 hours to reach his location, which meant Lisa needed to buy time by staying in the tournament as long as possible. Lisa asked what would happen if she lost the final match. Carl said the security team would still try to get Danny out, but without the prize money to pay off the debt, Danny would be hunted for the rest of his life. There would be nowhere in the galaxy he could hide. Lisa nodded, understanding what that meant. She could not afford to lose. The station was buzzing with excitement about the finals. Everywhere Lisa went, people wanted to talk to her, wish her luck, or just touch her for some reason. It was overwhelming, but she pushed through it. She went to the practice area one last time, throwing a few darts to keep her arm loose. A small crowd gathered to watch her practice. Among them was Vrok, the Kalrathi warrior she had beaten in the quarterfinals. He approached her when she finished throwing and said something in his own language. Another alien translated for him. Vrok said that regardless of what happened in the finals, she had already earned the respect of warriors across the galaxy. He said humans were no longer seen as weak. Lisa thanked him, touched by his words. It was strange how much had changed in just a week. She had come here as a nobody, a human that people laughed at. Now she was representing her entire species in front of millions of viewers. The finals were scheduled for the evening, prime viewing time across all 7 star systems. The arena had been decorated for the occasion, with lights and banners from different worlds. The prize money was displayed on a giant screen. 1 million galactic credits, enough to pay Danny's debt 3 times over. Lisa arrived at the arena 2 hours early to prepare mentally. She sat in the quiet locker room, breathing slowly, centering herself. She thought about her grandfather's advice from long ago. He had told her that darts was not about strength or even accuracy. It was about consistency, about being able to do the same thing over and over regardless of pressure. When it was time, she walked out into the arena. The noise hit her like a physical wave. Tens of thousands of beings were packed into the seats, and the screen showed millions more watching from across the galaxy. She had never imagined so many eyes on her at once. Cortal was already at the board. He was tall and thin with silver skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. His species, the Nexians, had long fingers perfect for holding darts. They had been playing this game for over 500 years, perfecting it into an art form. The referee robot floated down and announced the finals in multiple languages. The crowd cheered, a sound so loud that Lisa felt it in her chest. She looked at Cortal, and he looked back at her with eyes that showed no emotion at all. Then he spoke, and his voice was cold and precise. He said he had studied her matches and understood her technique. He said she was skilled for a human, but that this was where her journey ended. Then he said something that made her blood run cold. He said he knew about her brother Danny and the debt, and he asked if she could really focus on darts while Danny was in danger. Lisa felt anger flash through her, hot and sharp. Lith had warned her about this, about Cortal trying to get in her head. She forced herself to stay calm and said nothing in response. She would let her darts do the talking. The match format was explained. Best of 7 sets this time, since it was the finals. First to win 4 sets would be champion. The targets would be the hardest of the entire tournament, requiring perfect accuracy and control. Cortal went first, and Lisa immediately understood why he was considered the best. His throws were not just accurate, they were beautiful. Each dart flew in a perfect spiral, landing with mathematical precision. He completed his first set in 6 throws, the fastest finish Lisa had seen from anyone. The crowd cheered for their expected champion. Many of them had bet on Cortal, and his dominant first set seemed to confirm their choice. Lisa could see confidence in his posture as he stepped away from the board. Lisa stepped to the line. She blocked out everything, all the noise and pressure and fear. She thought only about the board and the darts in her hand. She threw, and her first dart hit the triple 20. She threw again, finding her rhythm. Each dart felt right leaving her hand. She finished her first set in 7 throws, just one more than Cortal. The crowd was impressed but not surprised. They expected her to keep it close in the early sets before the pressure broke her. The second set went to Cortal again. He was simply too fast and too accurate. Lisa was throwing well, maybe the best she had thrown all tournament, but Cortal was throwing better. The match was 2 sets to none in his favor. Between sets, Cortal spoke again. He asked how Lisa thought Danny was doing right now. He asked if she had checked her messages lately. Lisa felt her jaw tighten but refused to respond. She could not let him distract her. The third set was crucial. If Cortal won it, he would be up 3 sets to none, and no one had ever come back from that deficit in a finals match. Lisa needed to win this set to stay alive in the tournament. She threw with everything she had, focusing on each dart as if it was the only thing that existed in the universe. Cortal matched her throw for throw, neither giving an inch. It came down to the final target, a double 12 that both players needed to finish. Cortal threw first. His dart hit the double 12, but just barely. It was on the edge of the target. Technically good, but not his usual perfect placement. The crowd gasped because Cortal never threw imperfect darts. Lisa stepped up for her throw. This was it. The moment that would decide if she still had a chance or if the match was effectively over. She held the dart, feeling its weight, its balance. She thought about Danny, about Carl, about her grandfather, about everyone who had believed in her. She threw, and the dart hit the double 12 dead center. The crowd exploded. Lisa had won the third set. The match was now 2 sets to 1. Cortal's silver face showed emotion for the first time. It was subtle, just a slight tightening around his eyes, but Lisa saw it. He was surprised, maybe even worried. He had expected to be up 3 sets to none, cruising to an easy victory. Instead, the human was fighting back. The 4th set was the best darts Lisa had ever thrown. She was in a zone, a state where her body moved without her mind needing to direct it. Everything was automatic, perfect, flowing. She won the set in just 7 throws, tying the match at 2 sets each. The arena was going crazy now. Half the crowd was chanting her name, the other half chanting for Cortal. The noise was deafening, but Lisa could not hear any of it. She was too deep in her focus, too far into the zone. Cortal tried to speak to her again between sets, tried to mention Danny and the debt. But Lisa did not even look at him. She was beyond words now, beyond fear or doubt. There was only the board and the darts and the simple act of throwing. The 5th set went to Cortal. He raised his game even higher, throwing with a speed and accuracy that seemed impossible. Lisa threw well but could not match him. The match was 3 sets to 2 in his favor. He needed one more set to win the championship. Lisa sat down during the break between sets. Carl came over with water and a towel. He did not say anything about the match or the score. He just said that the security team was close to Danny's location and should be there within the hour. He said to keep fighting, keep buying time. Lisa nodded and stood up for the sixth set. This was it. If she lost this set, everything was over. The championship, the prize money, Danny's safety, all of it gone. But if she won, she would force a seventh and final set. Everything would come down to one last set of darts. She walked to the line and the crowd fell silent. They knew they were watching something special, a moment that would be remembered for years. The human underdog versus the Nexian master, fighting for a championship with everything on the line. The sixth set began with Cordell throwing first. He had the advantage and knew it. One more set win and he would be champion again. His first dart flew perfectly, hitting a triple 19. His second dart split the first, landing so close they were almost touching. The crowd gasped at the display of skill. Cordell continued his incredible throwing, each dart placed with absolute precision. He was showing why he was considered the greatest player in the galaxy. He finished his set in just 6 throws again, matching his best performance of the match. The arena was tense as Lisa stepped to the line. She needed to finish in 5 throws to win the set, which seemed nearly impossible. No one in the tournament had finished a final set in 5 throws. The targets were too difficult, the pressure too high. Lisa picked up her first dart and looked at the board. The targets appeared on the screen in sequence. She needed to hit them perfectly, with no mistakes and no hesitation. She took a breath and threw triple 20. Perfect. She threw again without pausing. Triple 19. Perfect. The crowd was getting louder with each throw. She threw a third time, hitting a double 17. Then a fourth dart into the bullseye. One more throw remained, one more target. She needed a double 10 to finish. Time seemed to slow down as Lisa held that last dart. She could feel the weight of everything pressing on her. Danny's life, her grandfather's memory, humanity's reputation, all of it balanced on this one throw. But instead of making her nervous, it made her calm. This was what she had trained for, what she had been preparing for her entire life without knowing it. She threw the dart, and it flew straight and true. It hit the double 10 with a solid sound that echoed through the silent arena. The crowd erupted in disbelief. Lisa had won the set in 5 throws, the fastest finish in finals history. The match was tied 3-3. Everything would be decided in the 7th and final set. Cordell stood there, his silver face showing shock. He had thrown perfectly and still lost the set. For the first time, doubt crept into his mind. Maybe this human was not just lucky, maybe she was actually better. The break before the final set felt like an eternity. Lisa sat with her eyes closed, breathing slowly. Carl came over and whispered that the security team had reached Danny. There was a situation happening, but Danny was alive. They were working on getting him out safely. Lisa opened her eyes and nodded. She had done what she needed to do, bought enough time for the rescue team to arrive. Now she just needed to finish the job and win this championship. Not just for the money anymore, but because she had come too far to lose. The referee robot announced the final set. The arena fell silent again, everyone holding their breath. Cordell and Lisa walked to the board together. The Nexian looked at her with his emotionless eyes and said one last thing. He said she had earned his respect, but respect would not help her win. The best player always won in the end, and he was the best. Lisa finally responded to him. She said that maybe he was right. Maybe the best player did always win. She said they were about to find out who that was. The final set format was different from the others. Instead of racing to complete targets, both players would throw 3 darts each at the bullseye. Whoever had their darts closest to the dead center would win the set and the championship. It was simple, pure, and brutal. Cordell went first. He took his time, calculating every variable. Wind flow in the arena, gravity, dart weight, everything. His first throw was perfect, hitting just millimeters from the center. His second throw was even better, touching the exact center of the bullseye. His third throw matched the second, 2 darts in the dead center. The measuring system calculated his average distance from center, 0.02 millimeters. It was the best 3-dart finish in tournament history. The crowd stood and applauded, recognizing the incredible skill they had just witnessed. Cordell stepped back with confidence. There was no way anyone could beat that performance. Lisa walked to the line. She needed all 3 of her darts to hit the dead center to beat Cordell's score. Even one dart slightly off and she would lose. The odds were astronomical against her. The commentators on the screens were already calling Cordell the champion, but Lisa was not thinking about odds or statistics. She was thinking about her grandfather's pub, about throwing darts after school while he told her stories. She was thinking about Danny as a kid, following her around and asking to play. She was thinking about Carl's faith in her, Vrock's respect, Lith's warning. She was thinking about every throw she had ever made, every lesson she had learned. She threw her first dart. It flew through the air in a perfect spiral and hit the absolute center of the bullseye. Dead center, as perfect as physics would allow. The crowd gasped. She threw her second dart without hesitation. It flew the same path as the first and hit right next to it. Also dead center. The crowd was on their feet now, screaming. Lisa held the third dart. This was it, the throw that would decide everything. She needed it to be perfect, not just good, but absolutely perfect. She looked at the board, at the two darts already there, at the tiny space of dead center she needed to hit. She thought about what Cortel had said, that the best player always won. She realized he was right about that. The best player did always win. But being the best was not about natural advantages or years of training. It was about wanting it more, about having something to fight for that was bigger than yourself. Lisa threw the third dart. It spun through the air and the entire arena held its breath. The dart flew true, hitting the board with a sound that seemed loud in the sudden silence. It landed dead center right between her first two darts. The measuring system calculated her average distance from center, 0.01 millimeters. She had beaten Cortel by the smallest margin possible. Lisa Morgan had won the championship. The arena exploded with noise like nothing Lisa had ever heard. The crowd was screaming, jumping, celebrating. The screens showed replays of her final three throws from every angle. Commentators in multiple languages were shouting in disbelief. Lisa just stood there, her arm still extended from the throw. She could not quite believe it was real. She had actually won. She had beaten the greatest players in the galaxy and become champion. Cortel approached her slowly. His silver face was hard to read, but his voice was respectful when he spoke. He said she had thrown better than anyone he had ever faced. He said she was not just a champion. She was the champion. Then he did something no Nexian had ever done in public. He bowed to her, a deep bow that showed complete respect. The crowd saw the bow and cheered even louder. Other competitors rushed onto the arena floor to congratulate her. Vrock lifted her onto his shoulders with all four arms. Lith was crying, her compound eyes glistening with emotion. Even Crix, her first opponent, was there smiling. Carl pushed through the crowd and hugged her tight. He was laughing and crying at the same time. He said she had done it, she had actually done it. Lisa hugged him back, finally allowing herself to feel the emotion of the moment. The prize ceremony was a blur. The tournament director placed the trophy in her hands and confirmed the transfer of 1 million credits to her account. Cameras flashed from every direction. Reporters shouted questions in languages she did not understand. Then her personal device buzzed. It was a message from the security team. They had gotten Danny out safely. He was hurt but alive, and they were taking him to a medical facility. The people he owed money to had been arrested by colonial authorities. It was over. Danny was safe. Lisa read the message twice to make sure it was real. Then she started crying, big tears rolling down her face. But they were happy tears, relief tears. She had saved him. Against all odds, despite being mocked and threatened and doubted, she had saved her brother. The celebration continued around her, but Lisa stepped away from the crowd for a moment. She found a quiet corner and sat down with the trophy in her lap. She thought about everything that had led to this moment. Every choice and chance and throw. She thought about being ordinary, about living a quiet life that no one noticed. She thought about how sometimes ordinary people were called to do extraordinary things. She thought about how she had been mocked at registration, how they had all laughed at the human who could not even hit the board. Her first competitive throw had left everyone speechless. Her last throw had made her a champion, and in between she had learned something important about herself and about humanity. They were not the strongest species or the fastest or the smartest, but they had something else, something that made them dangerous to underestimate. They had heart. They had the ability to push beyond their limits when something mattered enough. They had the stubborn refusal to accept that anything was impossible. And sometimes that was enough to change everything. The hours after winning the championship passed in a strange haze for Lisa. There were interviews with reporters from dozens of worlds, each asking the same questions in different ways. How did she feel? What was her secret? Did she expect to win? She answered them all patiently, but her mind was elsewhere, focused on Danny and whether he was really safe. Carl stayed by her side through all of it, helping translate when her tired brain could not keep up with the different languages. He had become more than just someone who bet on her. He had become a real friend, maybe the best friend she had made in years. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the officials told her she was free to go. The prize money had been transferred to her account, verified and secured. 1 million galactic credits, more money than she had ever imagined having. Enough to pay Danny's debt 10 times over, enough to set them both up for life if they were smart about it. She went back to her small room on the station and collapsed on the bed. Her arm was sore from throwing, her mind exhausted from the pressure. But she could not sleep yet. She needed to talk to Danny, needed to hear his voice and know he was truly okay. Her device buzzed with an incoming call. It was Danny. Lisa answered immediately and his face appeared on the screen. He looked terrible, with bruises on his face and a bandage on his arm, but he was smiling, that same goofy smile he had worn since they were kids. He said her name and his voice cracked with emotion. He said he had watched every match, sitting in that dark room with his captors watching too. He said when she won the final match, even the people holding him had cheered. They had respected the display of skill, even though it meant they would not get their money. Lisa asked if he was really okay. Danny said the doctors were taking care of him and that the security team Carl hired had been amazing. He said the colonial authorities had arrested the people who held him, charging them with kidnapping and extortion. The debt was considered invalid now, obtained through illegal means. Lisa felt a weight lift from her chest that she had been carrying for months. It was really over. Danny was safe and they did not have to hide or run. She told him to rest and that she would be there as soon as she could arrange transport. Danny said he was proud of her, and that their mother would have been proud too. Then he said something that made Lisa laugh. He said she had to teach him how to throw darts like that because he wanted to win back some of the money he had lost gambling. Lisa said absolutely not, and that he was done with gambling forever. They both laughed, and it felt good to laugh with her brother again. They talked for another hour about everything and nothing, just happy to be connected again. When the call ended, Lisa finally allowed herself to sleep. She slept for 14 hours straight, her body finally releasing all the tension it had been holding. When she woke up, there were hundreds of messages on her device from people across the galaxy. News outlets wanted interviews, sponsors wanted a signer, and tournament organizers wanted her to compete in other events. There was also a message from the Galactic Sports Federation. They were inviting her to join the professional dart circuit, traveling to different worlds and competing in tournaments year-round. The salary they offered was substantial, and it came with bonuses for wins and appearances. Lisa thought about it seriously. A month ago, she would have never considered such a thing. She had been happy with her quiet life, her boring job, her simple routine. But that life felt distant now, like it belonged to someone else. She realized she had changed during this tournament. She had discovered a part of herself she had not known existed, a competitive fire and a drive to excel. She had proven she could compete with the best in the galaxy. The question was whether she wanted to. Carl stopped by her room later that day with breakfast and his own news. He said his winnings from betting on her were enough to retire on. He was thinking about buying a small ship and doing some exploring, seeing parts of the galaxy he had only heard about. Lisa told him about the professional circuit offer. Carl said he thought she should do it if it made her happy. He said she had a gift and it would be a shame to waste it. But he also said that only she could decide what would make her happy, and no one else's opinion mattered. They ate breakfast together, and Lisa felt grateful for his friendship. He had believed in her when no one else did, had bet everything on her when the odds were 5,000 to 1. That kind of faith deserved to be remembered. Later that day, Lisa received a visitor she did not expect. Lith, the 3-time former champion, came to her room. The Vorkani looked different somehow, more relaxed than she had been during the tournament. She said she wanted to talk if Lisa had time. They sat in the small room and Lith explained that losing to Lisa had changed her perspective. She had been champion for so long that she had forgotten why she played darts in the first place. It had become about defending her title, about maintaining her reputation, about the pressure of always winning. Lith said watching Lisa play had reminded her that the game was supposed to be fun, that the joy came from the challenge itself, not from the trophy. She said she had decided to retire from professional competition and go back to teaching young Vorkani how to play. Lisa said she was sorry if their match had ended Lith's career. Lith laughed and said no. Lisa had saved her career by ending it. She said retirement was not an ending but a new beginning. Then she asked Lisa what she planned to do next. Lisa admitted she did not know yet. Lith nodded like she understood and said that was okay. She said the important thing was to make a choice that felt right, not a choice that others expected. Then she gave Lisa a small gift, a set of custom darts made by a master craftsman on her homeworld. She said every champion deserved proper equipment. Over the next few days, Lisa met with various people who wanted to discuss her future. Sponsors, agents, tournament officials, all of them had plans for her. But she took her time, not rushing into any decisions. She had learned that important choices should not be made under pressure. She also spent time exploring Nexus Prime Station, seeing parts of it she had not visited during the tournament. She went to markets where aliens from hundreds of worlds sold their goods. She ate at restaurants serving food she could not pronounce. She watched other sporting events and cultural performances. One day she went back to the practice area where it had all started. It was quiet now with the tournament over. A few casual players were throwing darts, but nothing serious. Lisa picked up a set of standard darts and stood at the line where she had missed the board completely on her first throw. She threw a dart at the board, and it hit the triple 20. She smiled at how far she had come in such a short time. A young alien, maybe a teenager, approached her shyly. The alien asked in broken English if she was Lisa Morgan, the champion. Lisa said yes. The young alien asked if she could teach them to throw better. They said they had watched all her matches and wanted to be like her someday. Lisa felt something warm in her chest at those words. She spent the next hour working with the young alien, showing them basic techniques and offering encouragement. When they finished, the young alien thanked her with such genuine happiness that Lisa realized something important. This was what mattered, not the fame or money or recognition. It was the ability to inspire others, to show them what was possible when you refused to give up. That evening, Lisa made her decision. She sent messages to the professional circuit organizers, accepting their offer but with conditions. She would compete in major tournaments, but she also wanted to do clinics and teach young players. She wanted to be more than just a competitor. She wanted to be an ambassador for the sport and for humanity. They agreed to her terms, excited to have the championship winner join their circuit. Lisa felt good about the decision. She was not going back to her old quiet life. But she was not losing herself in pure competition either. She was finding a balance, a way to use her gift that felt meaningful. She called Danny again and told him about her decision. He was excited for her and said he would come watch her compete whenever he could. He said he had found a job on a safer colony world and was going to settle down, maybe meet someone and start a family. He thanked her again for saving his life and said he would spend the rest of it making sure she never regretted it. Lisa told him she could never regret saving her brother. That was what family did for each other. They both got quiet for a moment, thinking about their parents who had died years ago. Lisa said she thought their mom and dad would be proud of both of them, proud of what they had overcome. The next morning, Carl came to say goodbye. His new ship was ready, and he was heading out to explore the frontier. He gave Lisa a hug and made her promise to stay in touch. He said he would be watching her matches whenever he could get a signal, and betting on her every time. Lisa laughed and told him not to bet everything again, because she could not promise to win every match. Carl said he had faith in her and that faith had never let him down. They said goodbye, both knowing they would see each other again someday. Lisa spent her last day on Nexus Prime visiting the memorial wall where the names of past champions were displayed. She saw Lith's name listed 3 times, Cordell's name twice, and dozens of others from species she had never heard of. 6 months had passed since Lisa won the championship on Nexus Prime. In that time, her life had changed in ways she could never have imagined. She traveled from world to world, competing in tournaments and teaching clinics. Everywhere she went, crowds gathered to watch the human champion who had shocked the galaxy. She won some tournaments and lost others, but the losses did not bother her the way she thought they would. She had learned that winning was not the only measure of success. Sometimes just competing at the highest level was enough. Sometimes inspiring a young player to pick up a dart for the first time was worth more than any trophy. Danny had settled on a peaceful colony world called New Haven, working as an accountant for a shipping company. He had met someone, a woman named Kate, who worked as a teacher. They were planning to get married in a few months, and Lisa had promised to be there no matter what tournament she had to miss. Her brother had completely turned his life around. He attended meetings for gambling addiction and had not placed a bet since being rescued. He told Lisa that almost losing everything had taught him what really mattered in life. Family, health, honest work, those were the things worth protecting. Lisa was competing in a tournament on a world called Veritas, known for its crystal cities and clear skies. The tournament was smaller than the Galactic Games, but the competition was still fierce. She had made it to the semifinals and was preparing for her match when she received an unexpected visitor. Cortal, the Nexian master she had defeated in the finals, appeared at her practice area. He looked the same as he had 6 months ago, silver skin gleaming, emotionless face revealing nothing. Lisa was surprised to see him, as Cortal rarely attended tournaments he was not competing in. He approached her and asked if they could speak privately. Lisa agreed, curious about what the great champion wanted to discuss. They walked to a quiet balcony overlooking the crystal city below. Cortal said he had been watching her matches over the past 6 months. He said her technique had improved, but more importantly, her understanding of the game had deepened. He said she was no longer just a skilled thrower, but a true master of the sport. Lisa thanked him for the compliment. Coming from Cortal, it meant something. Then he surprised her by saying he wanted to train with her. The Nexian explained that losing to her had been the best thing that could have happened to him. It had shown him that he had become complacent, relying on his natural advantages rather than pushing himself to improve. He said he wanted to learn from her, to understand the human approach to competition. In exchange, he would teach her the advanced Nexian techniques that had been developed over centuries. It would be a partnership between former rivals, each making the other better. Lisa thought about the offer. Training with Cortal would undoubtedly improve her game, and learning Nexian techniques would give her an edge over other competitors. But more than that, it would be a symbol of something important. It would show that different species could work together, learn from each other, and become stronger through cooperation. She accepted his offer, and they shook hands in the human fashion. Cortal said he would arrange his schedule to meet with her regularly for training sessions. Lisa said she looked forward to it, and she meant it. Her semifinal match that day was against a young Kalrathi player named Shen, a prodigy who many believed would be the next great champion. Shen had 4 arms like Vrock, but he was faster and more accurate than the older warrior had been. The match was intense, with both players throwing at their absolute best. The crowd loved it, cheering for every great throw regardless of who made it. In the end, Lisa won by the narrowest of margins, advancing to the finals once again. After the match, Shen approached her with respect. He said it had been an honor to compete against the champion, and that he had learned much from watching her throw. Lisa told him he had a bright future ahead and to never stop improving. She saw some of herself in the young Kalrathi, the hunger to prove himself, the determination to overcome doubt. The finals were the next day, and Lisa's opponent was a Shardborn named Nexus, widely considered the best player of his generation. Nexus had perfect mathematical precision, and his throws were calculated to the smallest decimal point. On paper, he should have been unbeatable. But Lisa had learned something important over the past 6 months. Darts was not just about mathematics or physics. It was about heart, about the ability to perform under pressure when everything was on the line. It was about being human, with all the messy emotions and imperfect calculations that came with it. The finals match was broadcast across multiple systems, with millions watching. Lisa could see humans in the crowd wearing shirts with her name on them, holding signs of support. It was strange and wonderful to see her species represented so strongly in a galactic event. The match went back and forth, each player trading sets. Nexus was mathematically perfect, but Lisa was something else. She was unpredictable in ways that confused the Shardborn's calculations. She made throws that should not have worked but did. She found angles that the math said were impossible. In the final set, with everything tied, Lisa needed to hit a double 8 to win. It was a difficult shot, made harder by the pressure of the moment. She stood at the line and thought about her journey. From her grandfather's pub to the Galactic Games to this moment, every throw had led her here. She released the dart, and it flew true. 8 dead center. She had won her second major championship. The crowd erupted, and Lisa allowed herself to feel the joy of victory. But this time it felt different. This win was not about saving Danny or proving herself. It was simply about being the best she could be on that particular day. Nexus came over and offered his respect. He said Lisa had defeated his calculations and that he would need to develop new mathematical models to understand her playing style. Lisa laughed and said sometimes the best strategy was to stop calculating and just throw. After the tournament, Lisa traveled to New Haven for Danny's wedding. It was a small ceremony, just close friends and family. Kate was kind and funny, exactly the type of person Danny needed in his life. Lisa stood as his best woman, giving a speech about second chances and the power of family. During the reception, Danny pulled her aside and thanked her again for everything she had done. Lisa told him to stop thanking her because that was what sisters did. Danny said he knew, but he needed her to understand how much it meant. His life had been heading toward disaster and she had saved him. Lisa said they had saved each other. He had given her a reason to discover her strength, to learn what she was capable of when pushed to her limits. They hugged, both of them crying happy tears. A few weeks later, Lisa received a message from the Galactic Sports Federation. They were creating a new initiative to promote sports among developing worlds, teaching young beings the value of competition and sportsmanship. They wanted Lisa to be the director of the program, traveling to different worlds and establishing training facilities. It was a huge responsibility, but Lisa felt ready for it. She would still compete in major tournaments, but this would give her work real meaning beyond personal achievement. She would be helping shape the next generation of athletes across the galaxy. She accepted the position and began planning her first trip to a developing world called Horizon. The species there had just joined the galactic community and were eager to learn about the various sports played across the stars. Before leaving for Horizon, Lisa returned to Earth for the first time since starting her journey. She went back to her grandfather's old pub, which had been turned into a museum dedicated to his memory and her championship. The current owner had preserved the original dartboard and even displayed one of her championship trophies. Lisa stood in the back room where she had learned to throw as a child. The space seemed smaller now, but the memories were just as big. She could almost hear her grandfather's voice, telling her stories and teaching her about angles and release points, without either of them knowing how important those lessons would become. She picked up an old dart from the display case and stood at the worn throwing line. She threw at the ancient board, and the dart hit the 20 with a satisfying thunk. Some things never changed, no matter how far you traveled or how much you won. A group of kids on a school trip entered the room with their teacher. They recognized Lisa immediately, their eyes going wide with excitement. The teacher asked if Lisa would mind saying a few words to the students. Lisa agreed, happy to do it. She told them about being ordinary, about living a quiet life without any idea,